as a musical fan who has had nothing but Epic the Musical songs on their Spotify Wrapped for the past several years, I am beyond thrilled that this concept album will finally become a fully fledged musical animated film. But what I can't figure out is how are they going to fit 40 songs totaling over 2 hours into a single movie. So, hello, I'm Kelly, and today I'm going to assume the role of fake producer and try to figure out how they're going to fit this entire musical into a single movie. I am going to assume that you, like me, are already familiar with this musical and have listened to it about 50,000 times. So, spoilers for Epic the Musical, spoilers for The Odyssey. You've had plenty of time to figure it out. So let's just jump into it. Now, most animated movie musicals like Tangled or The Little Mermaid have about 8 musical numbers, okay? Even if there's a reprise in there. My personal favorite animated movie musical, The Prince of Egypt, actually only has 6 songs on the album. But Epic has 40 songs, okay? It's approximately 2 hours and 15 minutes of just the music. That is just going to be too long of a movie. And do we think that producers are going to greenlight a 3-hour-long animated film about the Odyssey? I mean, I know I would eat that up, and probably millions of other people who are obsessed with this musical, but I honestly don't see that happening. Another solution would be to just go the route all studios do nowadays and cut it into 2 films, Act 1 and then Act 2. But again, this is kind of a newer, IP. I don't think that someone's going to greenlight 2 movies for this, okay? This is gonna, in this thought experiment, we're just gonna assume this is gonna be 1 movie, okay? And how are they going to fit the entire story, the entire album, into this movie? Animated movie musicals are not a good frame of reference because, like I said, there's barely any songs in them. So let's bring in the big guns. Let's look at the soundtrack of the 2012 Les Mis film adaptation, which has a total of 42 songs on the album, equaling about 1 hour and 55 minutes of music for a 2-hour, 38-minute long movie. So, again, a 2-hour and 38-minute long movie is pretty ambitious for Epic. I don't think we're going to get that much screen time with this film, but to be generous, let's just assume that Epic needs to match the length of Les Mis and reduce its song time from 2 hours and 15 minutes to about 1 hour and 55 minutes, okay? That is still like 4 to 6 songs that we need to cut from this soundtrack. And honestly, cutting any of this music is diabolical. But I want to figure it out. I want to see if we can do it. Can we make this musical good if we have to cut 4 to 6 songs? Okay. Honestly, I'm not sure because every single song is so important to the story, but let's just assume we have to cut some songs. So I'm going to do my best not to butcher this musical completely and try my hand at shortening this behemoth. I will be biased. I will make some of you upset by my choices, but let's start anyways. So the first thing we have to do is to not actually start cutting things. What we need to do is focus on what needs to stay in. So if we just focus on the absolute core of the musical, just focus on Odysseus and his main themes and his arc throughout the story, what needs to stay? What is the bare bones core of Odysseus's character? In my opinion, Odysseus's main story can be boiled down to just a man, obviously, narrative and musical theme for the entire show. Then open arms, that's the idealistic worldview. We have to remember them because that's the inciting incident where he rejects the worldview that he has been taught, the worldview of the gods. And this event is what causes all the bad consequences. Then we have to keep ruthlessness, because those are the consequences of the event, and is introducing the antithesis to open arms as a worldview, right? Then we have to keep monster, because of course that's the end of Act 1. That's the turn. That's Odysseus's change. That is, he has moved on to this, just embracing the world as it is, and trying to become part of it in trying to survive it in a different way. And then moving on to Act 2, I would argue that different beast is important because it shows that change that he has decided to make in himself and his crew. They have decided to become the monsters, and that's, shows that change. Thunderbringer is a major one because this is him losing everything, as well as Love in Paradise, which is the lowest point narratively for Odie. And then Dangerous is his song for, he gets back up. He gets back up from his lowest point. Of course, 600 Strike is the climax of the conflict between him and Poseidon, so that has to stay in. And honestly, I would argue the final Ithaca saga is full of closure for the themes. And so I honestly think you have to keep Odysseus. You have to keep I Can't Help But Wonder. It's solidifies the theme with Athena at the end. And of course, Would You Fall in Love with Me Again? Because it's a perfect ending and he has changed, but he is still loved through the change. Okay. So those are all the main Odysseus themes. Those are the things that's the core of the story. Those are the things that need to stay. Now, I personally see Athena as a secondary main character, even though she's not in it as much as Odysseus, obviously. It's the Odyssey. It's Odysseus. But I still think her story assists Odie's as it's her worldview and the worldview of the gods that he is initially rejecting. And so her story and challenge of her own worldview is also kind of important to reflect against Odysseus' story. So let's also keep all of Athena's songs. So Warrior of the Mind, keep it. My Goodbye, gotta keep that. Then we've got to keep Little Wolf, Will Be Fine, and God Games. So that's all the Athena stuff. We'll just go ahead and keep that as well. Okay, then we're left with still a lot of songs, okay? So the next most important thing, I think, is to maybe keep the Odyssey segments that would be weird to cut. As in, these are the, original Odyssey beats that we need to keep in order to keep it the Odyssey. And you could make an argument that some of these monsters could be cut. And I would accept that. I'm not going to, I feel like that could be a possibility. That they just cut a monster or two. But for our purposes, let's try to just keep all the actual Odyssey things. Which would mean we're also going to keep Polyphemus. We're going to keep Your Friends Close, so we can have the Wind Bag. That's important. We're going to keep Wouldn't You Like and Done For. Yes, I know I'm not keeping Puppeteer, but we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to keep No Longer You, so we get the prophecy in there. We're going to keep Scylla. Charybdis. I can't say that. Can you? And we're going to keep the challenge because those are all pretty important beats of the original Odyssey story. Are you with me so far? We're keeping the things that are important and need to stay, okay? We need to keep songs, there are just a few of them, that have a musical theme that is important to the rest of the musical story. So, for example, we need to keep Full Speed Ahead. Because even though some of those things could just be dialogue or something, Full Speed Ahead has a narrative, like a musical, not narrative, a musical theme. An actual like song that repeats over the course of the show. So we need to keep that, 600 men, that whole thing. We also, for the same reasons, need to keep Storm. And I think that's it. I think that's it for those, for now, that we need to keep. Tell me if I'm wrong. So now that we have all of these very important things that need to stay, we can start cutting. So here are the songs I think can most easily be turned into dialogue. These are songs that are great songs, but maybe they take them out of the movie and just turn them into shorter little dialogue scenes. Because a lot of these songs repeat the same thing over and over. It could be cut down into like a quick conversation. You could make an argument that Horse and Infant could become dialogue, but it is the opening number, so we're going to keep it. I feel like the opening of the show can't open with Just a Man because Horse and Infant is more upbeat and like gets us into the heat of the action, and I think it's important in that respect. So we'll go ahead and actually just keep that one. Also, we're going to go to Puppeteer. And this could be just action and dialogue. However, it is Cersei's introduction song and does feel a little weird to cut. And so we're going to keep that too. This is really hard to cut anything. I'm still just keeping everything. Okay, let's go to Mutiny. I think that could be dialogue. I don't think it needs to be sung. Well, actually, no. I actually disagree with myself. Mutiny, I think, is a huge narrative moment, okay? So I do think that the characters would be singing. And this is something that I think about musicals. Like, if they're singing, it has to be for a reason. The difference between dialogue and like what they're saying or thinking being sung is emotional impact, emotional weight. So if something is really, really important to the character, they would be singing it. And Mutiny is a huge, huge moment in the story. They would be singing it. We're keeping it. Okay, well, you know what? I think we could take out Luck Runs Out. And I hate saying that because Luck Runs Out is a song that always gets stuck in my head in a good way. It is important content, but I think you could turn it into short dialogue instead of the whole song. I don't think they would be singing that one. I don't think that's an important enough moment that they would need to be singing it. Unlike Mutiny. Like, Mutiny needs to be sung. There Are Other Ways is also important content. But listen, I need to cut something, okay? This is very important content. It's, it's not only Cersei deciding, oh, these people, I'll actually let them live, but it's also like a re-emphasis of Odysseus's desire to get to Penelope. But you know what? It can be dialogue. We're going to cut that too. Sorry, everybody. What else could be dialogue? I think Get in the Water could maybe, you could justify it being dialogue. But again, this is like the final confrontation with Poseidon. And so I do think Poseidon would be singing here because he's finally going to get his little annoying Greek and destroy him. So I do think he would be singing that. We're going to keep it. Is everyone okay? Have I lost anybody? Because I have cut Luck Runs Out and there are other ways. Listen, we've saved like 6.5 minutes. We still have a few minutes to cut, okay? We're still at like 128 minutes. I need to get that cut down to 115. I need to cut things. What else would I cut? Okay, I'm going to cut 3 very good songs that are more focused on secondary characters. Okay, these are secondary characters who are not the main focus, and if we need to shave things off, we need to focus on just our main people. Okay, and this is gonna suck so bad, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, everybody. This hurts me more than it hurts you. I need to cut Legendary. Don't hurt me. This is Criminal. This is one of my favorite songs, and I think it is the absolute greatest dichotomy to the end of the last saga with Thunderbringer, which is intense and terrible and like heart-wrenching, and Odysseus is finally at his lowest point. And then all of a sudden it turns into this really joyful song and hopeful song about how, wow, Telemachus can't wait to go fight monsters, which is like such a great like whiplash happening where it's like, oh, honey, you don't even know what the world is like out there, right? And honestly, this is one of my favorite songs, and I love Telemachus so much, but I do think the information about Ithaca and Telemachus could be shown instead of sung. And Telemachus is not the main character in this story. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, I'm just going to cut that one too. That could be a short scene leading up to the fight. Okay, that's 3 minutes saved. Also, bring out your pitchforks. I'm going to cut Not Sorry for Loving You. I know, this is also Criminal. Jail me. I know. This song is one of my absolute favorites, and it's freaking gorgeous, but it has almost nothing to do with Odysseus. It's just about Calypso. I have to cut it. You can tear me apart in the comments. That's another 3 minutes saved. I'm also going to cut Hold Them Down. I don't know. Are people mad about that? It is important to like give Odysseus more reason to murder them all. But I also don't think that needs to be a whole long song. And listen, I need to cut something, okay? I mean, will anyone be mad if I cut this? I mean, I know it's a well done song, but it's also creepy. Okay, 3 minutes saved. Woo! Okay, that hurt. Is everyone okay? I'm still at like 119 minutes after cutting the 5 songs. And we're still trying to get it down to 115. So if we could just like cut one more, that would be helpful. I feel like Underworld is just too good of a song and has such an emotional impact on us as the audience and on Odie, because he sees all the death that has come from his decisions like in your face. And I think kind of helps bring him to the decision at the end of that saga to become the monster. So we're going to keep the Underworld. Suffering is also kind of helpful to have because it starts Act 2, brings us back to the overworld, and it leads into different beasts and provides the immediate contrast between the two songs, like this happy, fun sounding song to this like, okay, cut the charades. So we're going to keep that. I think that's important. Survive. Survive is one of my favorite songs. Like I literally will listen to it on repeat. Honestly, the Cyclops saga is my favorite saga of all of them. I just love all the songs. It's very intense, and I love Survive. But I don't think it's as important as the others that I've left on the roster. And I do think the action could speak for itself without the song. And they could just move ahead to the next song faster. So, okay, well, I have to cut one of these, and I think that Survive is the one that needs to be cut. So that's like 3.5 minutes right there. which leads us to about 116 minutes of song, which honestly is close enough to 115. I've already massacred this soundtrack enough. I don't need to keep tearing it apart. This is my final answer. I'm cutting Survive, Luck Runs Out, There Are Other Ways, Legendary, Not Sorry for Loving You, and Hold Them Down. And that gets us to 116 minutes of song, which is like an hour and 56 minutes, which is still a lot of song, okay? I honestly don't know what they're going to do for real for the movie. That was really challenging and painful. If I could have my way, they would just keep everything. But honestly, this has proved more challenging than I thought it was going to be when I first decided to make this list. They really, all of them seem very important and necessary to the story of the Odyssey. And even the ones that I did decide to cut still include really important content that needs to be in there to make sense of everything else. So maybe, honestly, what they might do instead is like cut or just like make the songs shorter, maybe. Like some of those in-between songs that, I don't know. No matter what, they have a lot on their hands to try to fit this into a movie, and hopefully we just get everything we ever wanted, and it's going to be a 3-hour-long movie, and it's going to be the entire soundtrack plus extra songs, and it's going to be great. I mean, it's going to be great either way. But I'm really excited for this movie, and I know it's going to be several years until we get it. But it'll be so fun to see it come to life for real. It'll be so fun just to have another soundtrack, like an official movie soundtrack with maybe some familiar voices and some new voices. And I'm really looking forward to getting to hopefully go into a theater and watch it with a whole bunch of other nerds. So thanks for suffering through this list with me. Let me know what you think they're going to do in terms of cutting songs or not cutting songs, or what songs you would cut. We have a lot of time to theorize about this, and I'm looking forward to doing so. So thanks for geeking out with me about this, and I'm sure I will do so again soon. And in the meantime, stay tuned and stay animated. Bye!